Hello, welcome back to the Harmony Inspired Health podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Harmony Robinson-Stagg. And welcome if this is your first time listening in. I really appreciate that you have found us, however you have. And thank you so much to all of the amazing listeners who listen on a regular basis. I do truly appreciate you spending some time with me in the podcast realm. But today, we're actually going to be diving into the unseen realms, into the subconscious mind, the energetic imprints that we carry, and the ancient Ayurvedic lens that can help us write our story. I hope that sounds good to you because I love diving into the topics around Ayurvedic psychology. It is one of my favorite subjects to teach in the Ayurveda Alchemist Academy. And I know that it is one of the favorite subjects of the students as well. So I absolutely love geeking out on this subject. So today, for the podcast, if you haven't already, you're going to discover what samskaras are and how your subconscious loops may be running your life without your awareness, and how tools from Ayurvedic psychology can help you reclaim your mind, your body, your soul. If you've ever wondered why you keep repeating the same patterns, whether in relationships, maybe on your health journey, in your career, or even your internal self-talk, this episode will bring light to those shadows. Okay, so let's start by saying that Ayurveda doesn't separate the body from the mind or the mind from the soul. And in Ayurvedic psychology, we understand that much of what you experience in your adult life is shaped by samskaras, which are deep mental impressions formed through repetition, trauma, sometimes joy, and conditioning. These impressions form these subconscious loops. They live in the chitta, which is a layer of the mind that is responsible for memory and habit. Samskaras are like grooves in the brain, energetically and biologically. Your nervous system responds accordingly to these grooves. Until you bring them into the light, they run the show. And that is why I want to talk about this with you guys today. Because as I mentioned at the start, a lot of our reactions and the patterns that we are trapped in that aren't serving our higher self or our higher good, they are in our subconscious. So we aren't even aware that we're doing it. And if we're aware that we're doing the same reactions and patterns, sometimes it's that we're not aware of why. Now, your triggers aren't your truth, okay? They're the result of your programming. And that's what we're going to get into today. But first, I want to discuss these 3 layers of the mind in Ayurvedic psychology to help it all connect and make a lot more sense. So the mind is made up of, well, I say in my book, Ayurveda and the Alchemy of Her, I talk about the 7 layers of consciousness within the mind. But for this podcast, we're going to talk about just the 3 layers of the mind, just to simplify things, okay? I don't want to overwhelm you. But as I mentioned before, we've got the chitta, which is your memory bank of impressions. So think of this like your subconscious and unconscious mind. And this is where those samskaras reside. They're the grooves in the chitta mind, right? And then we have the buddhi mind. And this is the intelligence or the discernment. It's the part of you that can choose something different, knows right from wrong. And it's that higher intelligence that we pull on. And then the third layer that we're going to speak about today is called the ahamkara. And this is the ego or the I identity. It's how you see yourself in the world, and it's often shaped by the stories and beliefs that you've inherited. When your buddhi is dim, the chitta will take over. So when your intellect, that higher mind, is dim for many different reasons, maybe you've undergone some trauma, maybe you're not at your healthiest, you're eating a crappy diet, all of these things, because the mind body are intricately connected, can dim your buddhi mind, your higher mind, okay? And when that happens, then chitta, this subconscious or the unconscious mind, will really take over. And then when your ahamkara, your ego, is out of balance, you will cling on to old identities, even painful ones, because it is who you believe yourself to be, okay? And sometimes even the uncomfortable, if it's familiar, will feel safer than stepping into a higher self version of yourself if you don't do that often, because it's almost like the unknown. Now, this is where the work really begins, okay? The mind, body, spirit feedback loop. So you are not just your thoughts, but your thoughts create a physiological cascade, okay? A limiting belief like I'm not safe, it doesn't just stay in the mind floating around as some words, okay? It shows up in your nervous system as hypervigilance. So if you don't feel safe and you're just going for a nice casual walk, but you're constantly looking around, you hear a noise and you jump, your nervous system is on fire. It's what we call excess vata dosha. It can show up in your hormones as excess cortisol. So this is your main stress hormone. It can show up in your digestion as gut issues. Have you ever felt like really nervous about something and then your gut starts to churn, or you get butterflies, or you need to run to the toilet, or maybe you're someone that experiences a lot of bloating when you're really stressed out? This is your body responding to your thoughts. It can also show up for some people in your skin, like inflammation or eruptions, acne, stress acne, those type of things. What Ayurveda doesn't do, it doesn't look at symptoms in isolation. It will look at all of these things and ask, what is the root cause mentally, emotionally, spiritually, and physically? That's what we're after here. Okay, we're really after looking at the root cause of what is going on in our life. When we can start to not only work on the 3 layers of the mind and try to access more of that buddhi mind, but we can also rewrite the script, okay, that we are constantly playing in our mind that is then manifesting into physical symptoms. You don't heal though. You don't heal samskaras through logic alone. So you can't just think your way out of a samskara that's been there for 20 odd years, okay? You need embodiment. You need devotion and daily practice. You can't just think, the opposite is true and practice a mantra around that samskara for a day and think that you're going to be completely healed from it and your subconscious mind is never going to pick up on that again. It does take devotion and practice. Some tools from the Ayurvedic and Vedic traditions to help with embodiment include Abhyanga, which is a self-oil massage to really reconnect with your body. And I also like to start repeating my mantras that I have created to rewire my stories as I'm doing Abhyanga massage. Because not only are you constantly repeating mantra to yourself, but you're also nourishing the body with this beautiful self-oil massage and nourishing it, making it feel safe and calming the central nervous system, calming the vata. Which leads me to another tool, which is mantra or japa meditation to reprogram the subconscious mind through sound. And this is a really powerful way. If you do this as a daily practice, it is so powerful in helping you to reprogram those samskaras. Another beautiful tool that Vedic traditions offer is meditation and yoga nidra to rewire the brain's patterns and access the deep subconscious. Another one that I personally love myself and use a lot for so many different things is breath work, so pranayama, and that will help release stored emotional patterns. Now, we actually have a whole course on pranayama, breathwork, the ISO breathwork practitioner program, and it helps you to prescribe different breathworks depending on your individual constitution. And this works so beautifully because it works faster to unlock those emotional patterns because you're working with the breath in a way that suits your specific constitution and body. And then another great tool that we do have to help access these subconscious patterns is journaling. And I like to use prompts like, what beliefs am I carrying that are not mine? This is really important to think about. What are these beliefs I'm carrying around that actually aren't mine to carry? And what do I gain by holding on to this identity? Perhaps you're someone that goes around saying, I'm not smart enough to get out of my job that I don't like and start my own business or something like that. You're telling yourself that. But perhaps that's actually not truly your belief. Maybe it came from your parents who did venture out on their own to start a business and became bankrupt. And then you saw that happening in their lives. So automatically that belief became yours as well. And then you've got to ask myself, well, what do I actually gain by holding onto this identity? Well, what I gain, maybe not a lot, but what it does do is it keeps me stuck in the limiting capacity that I am, because I'm holding onto this belief so firmly, I can't see past it. And then you want to ask, well, who do I become when I choose a new story? So if I were to let go of that belief, I feel like I've got more freedom to do what I really want, more freedom to move around in my life, more freedom to make a deeper impact and connect to purpose and dharma. And then most importantly, you really need grace with this. Samskaras weren't formed overnight. And so they won't dissolve overnight either. Now, another aspect of all of this is actually the second pillar of my higher self method. It is called the empowered mind paradigm. And it's where your freedom lives, okay? You were not born with limiting beliefs. They were learned. And if they were learned, they can be unlearned. The empowered mind paradigm invites you to become the witness of your thoughts rather than the victim of them. Do you want to be a victim to your own thoughts, your own limiting belief that you have put upon yourself? No. So use discernment, buddhi mind, to choose new actions. Detangle your ahamkara from old pain identities. You get to choose who you are and who you are becoming. You get to choose the identity that you want to step into. Is that your higher self identity? Rewrite your internal script so it aligns with your dharma. There is no need to feel stuck in your mind with where you're at in life. If you're choosing if you're choosing your thoughts, if you're choosing the identity and how you want to show up in the world, you are the healer. Your samskaras do not define you. Your past does not own you, and your mind is not fixed. Your soul chose this life, this body, this path, and you have everything you need to come home to it. If this episode landed in your heart today, I invite you to go deeper with us inside the Ayurveda Alchemist Academy. Whether you're here for personal healing, feminine embodiment, or deep rewiring, we hold the space for your highest evolution. If you want to discuss this with me, you can book a free clarity call. Just DM me on Instagram at Harmony Inspired Health. Nope. It's Harmony Inspired Ayurveda. My website is Harmony Inspired Health, but my Instagram is Harmony Inspired Ayurveda. And if you've loved diving into the Ayurvedic psychology aspect of all of this, and you haven't already, make sure that you grab a copy of my book, Ayurveda and the Alchemy of Her. I've been so honored with all of the beautiful feedback that has come back from the community, and I just want to get it into the hands of so many women out there, because this was my life's work all wrapped up into some words for you. So until next time, honor your mind as sacred, your body as wise, and your story as ever evolving. Namaste.